Dr. Osman, how does France's alignment with the Arab call for a ceasefire and the rejection of the forced displacement of Palestinians, contrasting with U.S. support for Israel, actually reflect the growing divergence, if we may say, in U.S.-Europe relations?
I think we can read Macron's visit to Egypt and the trilateral summit with Presidents al-Sisi and the King of Jordan, Abdullah II, are an indicator that there is a huge divergence globally between seven major powers like France, for example, and Germany and others, and the United States on a multitude of issues, including the subject of free trade and tariffs, the settlement of the Russia-Ukraine war, and of course the situation in the Middle East. And within the context of the situation of the Middle East, France sees that trying to implement the Trump/Israeli vision of the settlement of the Gaza conflict will only further instability and chaos in the region and might actually lead to an expansion of the conflict in the Middle East, which, as I said before, will hamper the economic well-being and stability and even the security of the European continent, which is already under immense pressure. On the other hand, the French see, so that's why the French are trying to play a more proactive role along with moderate Arab powers like Egypt and Jordan in order to resist the Israeli-American agenda and try to impose a more sound and logical vision that will ensure sustained stability and will restore calm and peace in the region. However, of course, this does not mean that this will yield wonderful results immediately. We are facing the United States is a much more influential actor in the region. True. And is much more effective in its support for Israel. And there are limits to which France and all of the European Union is willing to challenge U.S. hegemony in the Middle East, and I do not think that this is actually feasible. However, at the end of the day, I think it's better than nothing. It's better than being on our own in this calculus, having a country like France, among others, on our side, trying to push forward the agenda of peace, the agenda of will be much better than standing alone in the face of the genocidal maniacs who are running Israel along with the U.S. backers.
Indeed, indeed. Dr. Amani Sulaiman, we have just watched President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi and his French counterpart Emmanuel Macron during the Egyptian-French Businessmen Forum talking about further enhancing the strategic partnerships between their countries and manifesting this partnership in even other fields. Now, how can Egypt leverage its strategic partnerships with a country like France to stabilize regional hotspots such as Libya, Sudan, and Syria amid global turbulence? We have heard them talking about partnerships in education, in health, in energy, in reconstruction. How could this happen on a regional scale?
Well, France is a major global and regional power. Both Egypt and France are the co-founders of the Union for the Mediterranean since 2008. And the work of the Union for the Mediterranean is really based on joint projects to elevate and to combat certain challenges and developmental issues in the region. So by now, as we have seen, the many agreements that have been signed between the two parties, Egypt and France, we are going to develop more expertise, joint expertise and joint efforts on how to run certain projects in energy, in construction, in education, even in cancer and oncology, on many files and many issues, as you said. Building this kind of joint expertise will be easier to transfer to other countries where both Egypt and France are trusted provider of help, aid, and knowledge. You can imagine moving these achievements or replicating them from Egypt, perhaps in Sudan, perhaps in Libya, and you will have both the logistical help from Egypt and the technical help from France, joined by what we have accumulated from decades of cooperation. So both political trust and technical knowledge can be transferred based on this strategic partnership to neighboring countries that are in a not very good situation domestically. They need help, they need reconstruction, they need modernization in many sectors. Yes. So logistically and technically, Egypt and France can help the neighboring countries through their joint expertise.
Thank you.